All right, let's welcome in our pal JP Vigier back to Winnipeg Sports Talk. How impressed have you been with this team through the first half of the year, and in particular the job that Scott Arniel and his coaching staff have done with this club, kind of steering them out of a very disappointing playoff into a season where they started off great and continue to play at a very high level?
Yeah, super impressed, right? Like, to me, there was, the questions, could they come back mentally after the beatdown from Colorado in the playoffs? And how do you address those situations? What's going to make them better? And how do they go about that business? And I think, almost a change of coach you don't want to see, but it kind of was a good shift. Took the attention away from what happened to what's going to happen. And I think Scott Arniel had a plan. He's really been kind of dialed in on the feel of the players, his expectation, his communication skills. The new coaches coming in seem to have fit right in, and they've just added about a handful of wrinkles to what they do and who they are, which kind of solidified their belief in themselves.
Now, JP, we've talked a lot about what Scott Arniel's done, but I kind of want to dive into Davis Payne for a minute and have you, as a player, as someone that works with coaches, take us under the hood and explain to us what you've seen with this Winnipeg Jets power play, how it has made a 180 turn with much of the same personnel last year into a group that, they're not just first place right now, JP. I mean, they're pushing a 32% clip, and there's a big gap between the Winnipeg Jets and the number 2 team in the league.
First thing I look at is how he came in and got the attention of the players and got them to buy in. Because most times a new coach comes into the power play system and wants to do what he does. But I think what he did in the background was get to know the players, get to know their strengths and weaknesses, and where to apply them. So I think that's very important, because then you show the players that you care. You're not just there for your stats or, to run X's and O's. It's about getting to know the players and what pushes their pulse. Now, once we got the heartbeat of the group, now you can kind of mold and manipulate. And they haven't changed everything on the power play. Like, their zone entries, they modified that drop pass with added crisscross to create more confusion and more time with 2-on-1s upon zone entry at the offensive zone blue line. That's been a game breaker because they have gotten in the zone a lot. They haven't been stuck in that turnover game that they work on. 2, the movement of Nikolaj Ehlers and his unpredictability, I think, has been the key to this power play. People in Winnipeg have been dying for him on the first unit forever, and they wanted to see him in the Kyle Connor spot or on the Mark Scheifele spot. No, the place for him is in the middle and everywhere and nowhere. He is the guy who kind of helps move players to different places because he's never stagnant. Before it was, let's stay to the outside, move the puck, up, down, across, try and get a one-timer. Now, if you're trying to mark Nick Ehlers, he could be beside Mark Scheifele, beside Josh Morrissey. He could be in front of the net. So as a defender, you never know where he is, which doesn't allow you to get comfortable or set. And then it forces the other players. It forces Mark Scheifele to go from board side to middle. Gabriel Vilardi to go net front to goal line. So now there's a lot of integral moving parts all over the place. And it just makes it confusing. And sometimes you're like, where is he going? Oh, that's why he's there. Backdoor tap in. Thank you.
It's funny that you bring up Nikolaj Ehlers. We were sort of talking about this earlier this week. And I mean, I kind of mentioned, you just wonder how the hell it took this long to really sort of truly buy into integrating Ehlers into that. And I guess maybe the thought before was that he was so dynamic. If you put him on your second power play unit, you're still going to have a chance to score, and he can sort of be the focus on it. But like I said, even I can't believe how night and day this unit looks. And JP, I mean, when we talk about where this team is in the standings and the amount of goals that they've scored, they've got the best goal differential in the league. I don't think there's any question that the number one reason for that is, the success of the power play. Because as you well know, through 82 games in the National Hockey League, so many of these games are close.
Yeah,
giving up one on the PP or scoring one can often be the difference between 0 and 2 points.
Yeah, totally. And let's be clear here. I don't believe it was the willingness of the Winnipeg Jets to put Nikolaj Ehlers on the first power play. It was the buy-in of Nikolaj Ehlers to not have to be on the half wall. I think the salesmanship of the coaches to convince him that he doesn't have to be in that spot. For years, I have heard out of his mouth, I'll be on the second power play in my spot. Well, there is no spot, right? Let's get a good 5-man unit, and however they sold it to him to say this is going to work when you do this on the first unit, not go stand on the side and try and wait for slap shots and do whatever. Having him in and out and around has made the world of difference. So I think it's a double-edged sword here. It's Nick Ehlers' buy-in to try a different position. I felt in previous years he didn't want to try different positions. There was no way he was going to the bumper or he was going net front. That was not going to happen.
Vij, while we're talking about the power play, I mean, listen, Scheifele and Connor, I mean, they're both having monster seasons. But Gabriel Vilardi is the third part of that top line, as well as the power play. What stands out to you when you watch Vilardi, his contributions and what he does for that power play unit, and then as an incredible compliment to Scheifele and Ehlers, who are having two of their best seasons of their careers?
First, I would go with health.
Oh, he's out there, yes. The best ability is availability.
So step one, he's been there, right? And I think that's kind of allowed his confidence to continue to grow because he's having a career year as well, right? But I think the ability of him to control pucks in confined areas, to buy time and space for the others to hit holes or find lanes is really one of the keys. Yeah, he's got good hands. He's moving around the net. We always knew he had good hands, but he's not the quickest guy out there, but he's able to get to space, control the puck, buy time, and then allow those other guys to get where they need to get to those areas. And I think they've started to build a chemistry because we're starting to see passes that necessarily aren't always looking at each other. Think of the backdoor tap-in or one-timer from Mark Scheifele on the power play a few games ago. Vilardi's not even looking at him. He just knows he's there, right? So the pre-scout and the communication amongst themselves has really allowed that to grow. And to me, the chemistry has been one, availability two, and he's as strong as an ox, right? And he turns over pucks all day, which goes well for Scheifele and Connor.
While we're talking about Scheifele and Connor, I mean, over the course of the years back on the old station here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, we've had plenty of conversations about the top line and Mark Scheifele in particular. I mean, a couple of years ago, it had seemed like, he was probably on his way out. How impressed have you been with his play so far this season? And maybe speak to he and Kyle Connor with what has really seemed like, a more detailed attention to doing things defensively and how that's actually turned into more offense for that line.
Yeah, I think 7-year contract just kind of, to me, solidified, this is my team. They want me here. Before it was always kind of like, well, is he living up to his potential? Do we have to move him to get something else? It's not his team right now, but boy, let me tell you, it feels good to have a 6-year contract in the back pocket knowing all I have to do is play my game. I think the next thing is the coaches have really showed, right, and kind of starts that of Lowry. The defensive game allows them to get to the offensive game. The harder they work at the defensive game, the quicker the offensive game comes. And let's be clear, that's where those guys want to be. And I don't blame them. No one wants to play defense. Everyone wants to try and play offense. It's way more exciting. But how often have you seen this year either Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor on the back check create a turnover in the neutral zone on pure determination? It's a daily occurrence now, where before you were like, well, he could get there, but he kind of just stays in the middle and waits to watch. There isn't a wait to watch. I think Scott O'Neill has sent a message to them early in the season. I don't know if they had meetings in the summer, but you guys need to be better by being leaders. And by being better leaders and showing by example, the rest of the team is going to follow, and we don't have a choice. But that's the difference. The difference between this and this is the 1 or 2 strides and a little bit of effort, right? If the third or fourth line sees Kyle Connor back checking, creating a turnover, do you think they have an opportunity to step off the gas and not back check? Absolutely not. Scott O'Neill can go down the bench and tap him and say, hey, the big guys are going, you guys better keep up or you don't play, right? Maybe he says it nicer than that, but, you just think of every Stanley Cup contending team, the best players have to be your best players. The Pittsburgh Penguins, when they won 3 Stanley Cups, Sidney Crosby was a beast. Malkin was a beast. They were back checking. They were doing all those things. And that's what you're seeing out of the Winnipeg Jets. The big dogs are doing the little details which force the rest of the team to do the same.